Hello, I'm an engineered cloud for you, an enterprise cloud provider. Welcome to our training course. In this lesson, we will cover the following topics: deploying VM, creating VM from a template, creating VM with installation of ISO, creating directory, uploading ISO to that directory, connecting ISO to VM, running the installation. Now, check if VM is available from the console. In order to create VM from a template, we have to go to the virtual machine. In the Virtual Machines tab, click on New VM. Then, we're asked to enter the name of the virtual machine. Let's call it Test Template. We see now that there is an error. Computer name cannot use such a sign. Let's just call it Test. Next, we can add a description for the virtual machine. Let's say it is Test VM from Template. Next, we have Field Type. Here we can create a new VM or deploy it from a template. Since we deploy from a template, we select from a template. Then you set checkbox power on. It means the automatic activation. That is, if we want to immediately automatically select the template so that VM was deployed, we just leave the checkbox. If we just want to deploy VM and then change the configuration of any VM, we can remove the checkbox. Now we choose Deploy from a template. We see a list of all the templates available for Cloud for You. The company has developed many templates for easy installation, and we can choose any template that interests us. One important point is Directory tab. We need to know in which directory is our virtual DC. We can find out the information if we go to the Data Center tab. Here we see the name of our organization, Demo Cloud for You Video Virtual DC, then K41. This means that our virtual DC is in K41. I will repeat again. Click New VM, type Test. Here is the Directory tab. That is, our VM can be either in M14 or in K41. Let's sort out and leave only K41. Okay, it is sorted now, and all the templates we can deploy will be in the cluster K41. Here are many filters, such as type of operating systems, Ubuntu, Windows, and so on. Here we will write, for example, Ubuntu. Now we will see all the Ubuntu templates we have. Let's choose, in our case, Ubuntu Server 16.04. This means that here we can choose a pre-installed versions, for example, Nextcloud, which is based on Ubuntu or Big Blue Button, or simply deploy an empty Ubuntu server. We will choose just an empty Ubuntu 16.04 server. Confirm it. And we see that the virtual machine is being deployed. Meanwhile, the VM is being loaded, deploying from the template. We can move on to another task, creating a virtual machine by installing it from ISO. To create a VM from ISO image implies that we create a VM, connect an ISO image to it, and from this ISO image, the VM should boot. In order to connect the ISO image to the VM, we need to create a directory, load the ISO image into it, and connect the ISO image to the virtual machine. To do this, we need to create a directory. Go to the tab Libraries, and here we see all the public directories which already have ISO images. Here are our public directories K41 and public M14. If we want to upload our ISO image, we need to create our own directory. Click New and put the test directory name. We can also add any description. The checkbox provides any specific storage policy, so if we want to use any other storage policy, we need to activate the checkbox. But if we want to use it by default, keep it unchanged. Click OK. We will see the test directory created. Next, we upload the ISO image to the directory. Go to the tab Media and Other, click on Add. Then you have to choose the directory where you want to download the ISO. We will only be able to download ISO images to a directory to which we have access. This is our test directory which we have created. Enter the name or it will be done automatically when we choose the ISO image. Next, select our ISO directory. You already have a previously downloaded ISO image. Choose it and see that it has a name. Confirm it. We see the process of importing ISO image to our directory. It should go pretty quickly. Also, in the Media and Other tab, we have a lot of preset ISO images, i.e. we can either load our own ISO image or deploy a virtual machine from a template. Or we can create a new virtual machine and connect the ISO images which I already have so that there are no pre-configured settings. Here we can also sort them by name and we see all the ISO images which are available for our organization. We can only use public K41 since our data center is in K41. Go back to the tab Data Centers. Go to Virtual Data Center and here we see that our virtual machine is deployed from the template. In order to check the availability of our virtual machine, we have to click on the window and we get to the console. We can see that our virtual machine is successfully deployed. Next, we need to create a virtual machine and connect the ISO image to it. Click on New VM. Here, we're also asked to enter the name of the VM. Let's call it Test ISO. The computer name will remain unchanged, Test. We can also add a description, and here is an important point. We choose not from the template, but new VM as we will connect our ISO image to the new virtual machine. In this case, we can deactivate the checkbox Power On. We don't need it to be automatically loaded, we just need it to be created. Then we can connect our ISO image to it and run it ourselves. So we deactivated the checkbox Power On. Next, we have to choose the operating system. In my case, the ISO image is Ubuntu, so we choose Linux. As a type of operating system, we can choose Debian. We'll be offered to choose the boot image, and here we can choose a previously created image. We can skip this point as we will connect the image directly to the virtual machine. Storage policy is set by default. Next, we are asked to enter the settings for the virtual machine, meaning the number of cores, the amount of RAM, and storage size. We have a pre-installed size on Cloud for you. Small, medium, or large. If we choose small, we will have 1 core, 500 RAM, and 16 gigabytes of storage. We can also click on custom sizing options, and here we will be able to choose the number of core per socket, number of RAM, and amount of storage. Let's leave it unchanged. We also can get the storage policy of the hard disk drive to our choice, low, ultra, SSD, or medium. Let's leave it by default. Network. We can choose which network we want to use. From the list of suggested networks, we choose Cloud for You Video LAN. This is a previously created virtual network. As for type of adapter, always choose VMX NAT3. This is a new adapter type. It always remains unchanged. As for the mode of obtaining the IP address, you have to put DHCP. If you have DHCP configured, either select IP pool or manually specify the IP address. We see that our virtual machine is successfully created. It is now in the power off state. Here we see a description, number of cores, amount of RAM, which network is connected, and more detailed information. Then, to connect the ISO image to it, we need to go to the tab Actions, select Insert Media. Here, we can either search by name or by our directory. We will type in our directory test. Here we have our test directory. It has the ISO image that we downloaded earlier. Click on it and press Insert. Now, it starts the process of connecting the ISO image to the virtual machine. It all should finish successfully. To start our virtual machine, press Actions, Power on, and the process of activating the virtual machine will start. Now we need to go to the console to make sure the ISO image is connected and we can continue the installation. Go to the console. We see that our image is downloaded. Then we can choose Install. The installation process will start. Well, it looks like it's working perfectly. In this lesson, we have learned how to create a VM from a template, how to create a VM by installing from ISO. To do this, we created a directory, downloaded our ISO into it, connected the ISO to the virtual machine, checked that the installation works properly. We also checked if our virtual machines are available from the console. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.